You're listening to Common Sense and Beer. We talk about the hard, heavy-hitting topics with the beer in hand. I am your host, Kyle. My co-host here is
Zach.
And today, well, we're going to just talk about the tech life. All three of us in this room here, along with by three of us, I mean our Asian friend Joey, have lived some sort of technician lifestyle of working, using troubleshooting methods, things that aren't really taught in school, things that are just pretty much taught in the field by someone else that's doing it. Someone really, it's kind of one of those fields that kind of you got to know someone that really gets you into it. I don't know about you guys, but when you read the job description for like a cable technician, they throw in all the big words and all the big things that it's like, I have no idea what any of those things are. But as you come to find out when you do them, they aren't anything what they're saying. It's like, oh, yeah, I can do that. That's just plugging in the meter to the socket.
Yeah. Oh, it's super simple.
And running the test.
Yeah, there's a few niche things in the cable industry that you have to understand, like cable signal readings and stuff like that. But once you learn that, anyone can do it. It's really not hard. But
I think it's more of like just the skill and troubleshooting alone of being able to, diagnose things and work on them in a way of like dissecting, like, okay, well, it's working here but not working here, being able to just kind of find in between. Once you can apply that aspect to almost anything.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's a cool skill that the job kind of provides, and you learn from, and you get to hone.
Absolutely. Well, yeah.
I mean, I've been able to fix a bunch of stuff in my house because of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you learn. Yeah, the whole troubleshooting aspect in general will help you out in life. I mean, it's simple things. It's my dishwasher is making this sound. Well, if you have some sort of troubleshooting background, you at least know where to start. You kind of break things up and to try to figure out exactly what's going on. You move a few parts, see what's squeaky, see what's not, and you figure it out from there. It's just simple little stuff, but when you have that troubleshooting background, it gives you an idea of not necessarily just how to fix things, but how to work on certain things, how to deal with certain things. It doesn't have to be anything technical.
Because that gives you the opportunity to work on things that you wouldn't be able to. As far as like radio frequencies and whatever else, active live. You get to see live traffic happening.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. That's pretty neat and cool.
Well, and the other relevance of talking about this too is, I mean, that's how we met, Kyle. Me and Joey have known each other for a while, but that's where we met. What, 8 years ago?
That's how I met Joey.
Yeah, that's how you met Joey too. Yeah. So it was what year? About 8 years ago, I think, right?
Man. Yeah, I want to say 2015 is when I started. I think, at least around here.
Oh yeah, 2015 I started
around
too.
Then, so yeah, you were earlier. I started a little later in the year, but yeah.
So that's kind of how all of us became acquaintances / friends.
And I'll say too, like out of because like I don't really hang out like any high school friends or any old friends. Like I barely keep in touch with anybody anymore, and a lot of the new friends I've gotten have been in these fields. I'd call you guys pretty good friends. But it's like you find people with a lot of the common thought processes, a lot of the same kind of common sense and whatever else in this field. It feels like, at least people that just think similarly, about things in general in life, and just, have the same approach on things. And, it's not absolute with everybody, but I just find it that a lot of my friends have been coworkers. Yeah. The ones that I hold near and dear to at this point in my life.
I think that kind of happens too, like when you get older.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I just feel like it helps too that like, people
everyone's like-minded.
Not just like-minded too, but you have to have there's like a level of intelligence, that you have to have. Yeah. You kind of have to be successful in the field, and it's like you find those people, and you always try to surround yourself by people that'll make your life better.
Sure.
So you want to find people that are better than you at certain things. I mean, obviously, we first met because I had no idea what I was doing with phone. And I remember you come in, and I had cut the line from the phone that went down to the major, the main line punch block that It was just the main connection point, and I
Yeah.
cut that so I could run my cable through. Remember you saying, well, in hindsight,
Yeah.
it would have been better just to leave this, and all you would have had to do is plug it from here to there. It's like, huh. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was doing all the complicated.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, well, I did disconnect it in the box. I remember them saying that.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any idea what I was doing
Well,
when it came to phone at the first.
It's so funny because you sit in a classroom. I will say their training was decent. The company that we worked for, their training was decent. They sat you in a classroom and you learned all the stuff before you went out. Well, I mean, and they had kind of the half field, half in the classroom.
Yeah.
But
let me just interject, just because I've worked at numerous of these companies, and I'd say that company that we both worked for had probably the best training out of all of them. So
it's the only telecommunications company I ever worked for, and I think they did pretty good. I mean, if anyone was a certain number of miles outside of it, they'd put you up in the hotel, and you'd go over to the training center, and that was pretty cool. But I do remember that is one aspect of the training that we learned was phone, and how they made it seem like it was just this crazy difficult thing to understand.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
realistically the easiest part of the job.
well, yeah, really. I mean, it takes one time for it to actually click in a real life scenario, and it's like, okay, well, I'm never going to lose that again because I get it now.
Well, they talk about like, oh, you got to make sure your ring and tip is right.
Yeah,
So,
tip
like,
and ring. Yeah,
No
like,
one
dude-
cares about any of that anymore.
dude, just tell me, line the blue up with the blue.
yeah. Well, it's so
Right.
funny. It's
Color
so
for
funny.
color.
It's so funny too because they start off with the cable, the coax,
Mm-hmm.
and it's they give you all of the reasons why there's this jacketing and this jacketing and this jacketing, but at the end of the day, it's just one wire coming out of a bunch of shielding, right?
Yeah.
And then they give you the phone, and you're seeing wires with 8 lines in it, and you
Yeah.
strip it back, you're like,
And then just made this one wire seem so complicated.
exactly, and so.
I remember getting into a more telecom related company, later on, and they said, it was more. Oh gosh, it was just more. It was funny because it was like, here's all these wires that these guys deal with, and it's like, there's no. I'm asking them like, well, what are the tolerances? What are the levels that you're looking for, and such, because they have all the same things that they look for.
Yeah.
Signal over noise, all these things that would indicate like water in the lines, but that's essentially it. They can tell if there's water in there, but there's no like strength to like the
Right.
signal. Like that's nothing they really care about. If it's a strong enough connection, it'll make anything work because all they're dealing with is such slow speed,
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
those copper lines. And a lot of the time it's just, I mean, you're still dealing with dial-up modems, which
Yep.
they just still exist. And the telecom deal is they promise a speed, but that speed is based off of like their main network box. So if you're so far from that network box, you still have that degradation in your speed that they're not accounting for because they guarantee it to a certain point to that box,
Right.
not to your house.
Right.
And that's how they get away with it. And I mean, they've stretched that technology, the little thin copper wires. They've done some amazing stuff with it, but it's still so slow
Yeah.
that coax is still king when it comes to that delivery method. When you're not dealing, once you get to fiber, then fiber's fiber. It's glass. It's a whole different medium.
Yeah.
But-
when you go from light to, from RF to light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, the phone was the most intimidating. And then as soon as you understood it, you could do it. I mean, I used to beg for phone jobs when I was because
Yeah,
I
like
knew they
those.
were going to be so
you're adding
easy.
a phone line?
Yeah, so easy,
Barely-
so quick. And then there were other times where I'd get stuck on a phone job because most of the time when you're in someone's basement, the phone lines are usually harder to spot or find
Sure.
versus the coax lines.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times that, oh, well, my one phone in this bedroom isn't working. It's like, well, why don't you have wireless phones yet? but two, you try to track down that line, and it goes above, drywall ceiling, and then goes above here, above there, and then, we had toners, but we never wanted to use them. We thought it'd be quicker just to look for the friggin' things, and try to
yeah.
follow them through the basement.
You
That
should see
was-
me to this day. I still, like, when it's coming time to pull a drop, and I'm like, well, it's about 300 feet. yeah, I think I can push that.
Yeah.
Here. And it's like, you can't.
Yeah.
It's not. You'll get it all the way there. It'll get all the way to the end. And when it needs to come back up out of the ground, that 90-degree angle, you're not going to push it through there
Yep.
from 200 feet away.
Yep.
No shot you're going to. And the toner thing was the same shit, man. How many times, too, did you repeat somebody? You went back on a trouble call that someone else was at. And there's that line that they couldn't find. And
Yeah.
It's like so simple as day, and you're like, there's
Yep.
no way that was it. So you put a toner on it, and it's
Yeah.
okay,
Starts
yeah, that was
toning out.
absolutely it. And you're just thinking like, what did they do?
Yep.
Did they even come in?
Right. Right. Did they even look at it? Yeah. We've got there's tons of stories out there too that we could tell, like going into houses after another technician was there. It's like
Oh yeah,
I don't know if there were any times. There were a couple of times, I suppose, where I was like really impressed with the work they did. If it was like a brand new install, and then they just, the customer just called back because of something stupid.
yeah.
A
lot of mine were like that.
Yeah,
They'd be like, oh yeah, they just couldn't get their guide didn't work, or like a box just died on them.
yeah,
Stuff like
which was
that.
very common.
Super
But then,
common.
but most of the time, when you went back on somebody, it was like, what were you thinking? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why? And
Well, just kind of like what I was saying, like you work with a lot of people that at least have some intelligence. It's like,
yeah,
on the other hand, and this is probably true with any field, you work with some just people that just don't have it,
yeah,
or those people that fake it until you make it types. But you have those other people that just work as hard as they possibly can to not do the job.
yeah,
We how many of those did we go through?
yeah. Oh,
You know what I mean?
a few.
You would always ask, well, before we could, at one point, we always knew who was behind us, right? We knew the tech numbers and stuff like that.
Right.
But then they eventually took it away, right?
Yep.
So then you were asking the customer, like, hey, who was here last?
Yeah, do you
kinda
remember what he
describe
looked like?
Yeah, describe him for me. And
Look,
you're like,
man.
oh, he was, I remember his name. His name was, and you're like, fuck.
Son of
Yeah, you see them, you go, man, oh man, or you get a description and they start saying, yeah, they were over here farting, and you're like, what? Like, come on.
I know
man.
exactly who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
you know exactly who I'm talking about. I know you do.
Oh,
They
man.
just they describe this person to a T, and then you're like looking at their work, and you're like, how in the world are you even
Yep.
alive to this day, man? And like, some of these people have kids.
Yeah, they
It's
do.
like, yeah, how? I don't understand it. Like, you hear about the stories and you read the tags. Like, don't put this appliance while it's plugged into the bathtub with you. Don't stick a fork into the electrical socket. But it's like, these are those people that do that. I feel like there's a certain sect of them, and they just find their way in. And no, the military's not even safe. These people, the worst of them, find themselves and creep into the military. But like they're like cockroaches. Man,
Yeah.
they find themselves in everywhere. But anyways, some of them make it. Some of them evolved into something more beautiful than a cockroach, I guess. But man, the ones that don't, for instance, the other one I'm talking about, another, a great example. This guy would just, and I don't know why, because it's like he would get out of work and then, I don't know, sit on the tickets the whole day, so he didn't get any other ones. But he wouldn't go do anything. He wouldn't hang out with anybody. He would just, and I mean, like, he would go into a house and like not even unwrap the equipment, leave it all boxed, like the power adapter still in a box, the thing still's got its plastic wrap on it from the restoration that was ever put on it. They put the plastic on. I'm sure that's all they do is put plastic on it.
Yeah.
But and then like the remotes didn't have battery. Like, he didn't hook up anything. He didn't do anything. He didn't go up to the pole and hook up he didn't do anything. He just put the stuff in the house, assigned it to the house, and left. And it's like, man, like, I can imagine, doing that one time and just getting fired. Like, I would
Right.
fire you for that
Oh,
if
yeah.
I was boss man.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the corporate structure too. Like,
well, how
a
do you-
lot of these cable
yeah.
companies used to be mom and pop, and they could probably just, like, someone does something like that, you probably just take them out back and beat them.
Yeah.
Like, bro, what are
Yeah.
you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think some guys, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think you'll find that in a lot of fields, not necessarily just the, cable industry, but
Yeah.
there are
Oh,
people that will go out of their way to not do anything. They're working harder. They're putting themselves through
That's
more
just it.
work trying
Yeah.
to avoid it than actually just doing the job.
And that's where it's like, are these people really dumb? Because I mean, I wouldn't have thought of some of the stuff
Yeah,
they think of,
yeah.
man. Like, to be honest with you, like, or is it just something else? It's a drive to be like that lazy, or you know,
Right,
like,
right.
But we all had our little go-tos though.
Oh, sure. There were. But most of the time you didn't use them unless you were in either like a nasty house or, you know,
Dude,
something like
the
that.
first time
or
I
their
was
issues weren't warranted.
Or, oh, yeah, that was a big one. They'd call in. You know, there were, at the end of the day,
Oh.
when you're making house calls, you encounter all kinds of people. Some of
yeah.
those people are just lonely people that want someone in their house to talk to.
yes,
And a lot of those, we'd get a lot of those calling
so
back
it's a lot of
constantly.
senior
Yeah.
babysitting.
Yeah,
or you get some of the mentally ill, like schizophrenic houses where those people are like, they don't let you leave.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and there's some people that just call in constantly even though they don't really have an issue. They'll say they do, but they don't really have an issue. They just want to sit down and talk. And in fact,
Yep.
one of the, I don't know if you remember this story, but there was in one of the offices around our area, they actually had a guy coming in a half an hour early every single day, going to this one woman's house and having coffee with her. This was off the books, obviously.
Sure.
But they had the guy would show up and have coffee with her to prevent her from calling in constantly
Wow.
to have someone come and look at her cable, quote unquote, when in reality she just wanted to sit there and talk with him.
Yep.
So it's like you hear stories like that and it's like, okay, well, you know, I get that you're trying to be a nice person, but at the same time, we should be able to say, no, you need to stop calling us.
They should have just banged.
Yeah. Good grief.
Probably.
I
That
probably
was
would have.
probably next on the table, man.
I probably would have stopped it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows with that?
Some sort
Well,
of.
you hear the stories too, where like you'd have the scorned wife, like videotape, you know, get the cable guy over and lure him up, you know, answer the door in a towel, lure him up, and
Yeah.
videotape it so that they could get a divorce, and then it's like that's a whole. You hear those stories, like, man, how ridiculous! Like I'm sorry, man. Even if I was a single dude, I wouldn't be falling for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, is your job really worth it?
Right. Well, and yeah, and what's crazy about that too is I worked there for 8 years. I never got that. I never got a woman answering the door in a towel or nothing, you know. People always ask me, that was a common question when I was working there, was, oh, do you ever have a single mom or someone answering the door with just a
It's like,
towel
what?
on out of the shower?
No,
I'm like,
my job is not your Pornhub
yeah,
search
exactly.
history. Like, what?
Exactly. Like, no, I don't get that at all.
Well, for me, I never saw any boobs or
No.
vaginas or nothing, but I saw a penis.
Oh, I did have that tidy whities guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I never
he was
really
very
saw.
gay too. He was very gay and very open about it. And he, I remember answering. You know, he answers the door. I'm like, dude, we can reschedule this because it was a snowstorm day. It was like, I don't really want to
Yeah.
work anyways, man. To be honest
That was
with
such a fun day.
I thought I had a great day.
Yeah.
You know, after this call.
After that, yeah.
Because I did also get stuck outside his house, which was miserable.
Yeah.
But either way,
Yep.
answers the door, tired, rubbing his eyes, tidy whities. I get it, man. Rough night, maybe, whatever.
Yep.
Oh man, I'll be right back. All right, no problem. He doesn't want to cancel. He'll just be right back.
Yep.
I imagine be right back. Tidy whities answers the door means I'm gonna go put some pants on.
Yeah.
maybe a shirt. I would been
A
cool with
sensible
pants.
person.
No pants, no shirt. Just answers the door just as was.
Yep.
and proceeds to like be very bragful about how gay he is, and the partner didn't seem very overly gay. Let's just say he seemed embarrassed by the guy's behavior, and it was like
Yeah.
he was still in bed, and he was like, I don't know, I don't even remember what it was. It was like a DVR thing where it was like full. It's like, come on,
Yeah.
man, like
Yeah.
really, like gosh, you get some of the dumbest calls.
Oh yeah.
Anything that had to do with the remote just aggravated me so much, and I have to fix my poor mother-in-law's, because it's that trap where they click that button that
Yeah.
goes through
The-
in cycles
the
and then
power
turns on
button
the
trap.
TV but turns off the cable
Yep.
box, and they're like, it doesn't work, and I'm like, no, it really does. I swear it does. You just have to hit this but I hit the on off button and this is what happens. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know. But man, it's really like, why does it have to be so hard?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like I didn't realize how hard it was because these are metrics that everyone gets paid off of basically.
Oh yeah.
And it's little, you know, you can't explain some of these things because you can explain it until you can't talk anymore, until you can't breathe anymore. They'll
Yeah, it would
forget
come to-
and call back in like a week later,
Yep.
man. It
Yep.
just,
And then-
it's inevitable.
And then they'd ask you, "Oh, why is your repeat so high?" Well, you look at the calls that they went back on. It was customer education. They would educate the customer, and okay, well, maybe you need to work on educating the customer. It's like I could sit here for an
No,
hour and a
there's no-
half and explain to them exactly.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
There's no educating these customers.
There's no way they're going to understand. I could sit here for an hour and a half, explain it to them, and they still won't get it. They're still going to call in
Look,
a week
man,
later.
We didn't go to college. We don't expect them to have either. And a lot of them dropped out of high school, and it's very evident.
Yeah.
And that kind of reminds me of a good story of one of the guys we'll have on here eventually, Tommy, our good friend. Can't wait to sit him over there in the cuck chair for how long he's been pushing off being
Yeah.
on our show.
Yeah. He was one of the first people to give us comments and
and wanted to be
criticism
on,
and everything.
and
And
he
then
says, I don't have a good voice.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, cuck chair for you, my friend.
we're calling you out, Tommy.
So, anyways, once he finally gets on here, but he's got this kind of great example because he actually did that where he focused on the repeats.
Yes.
And his productivity, which is another metric, was going down. So then he was getting complained about, well, your productivity's down. He had like 0 repeats, but that's because he was spending so much time on these jobs ensuring that no repeats would happen. So they complained, and he's like, all right, fine. So he got his productivity better. But you know what happened? His repeats went up. Well,
Yep.
what happened? It's like, you wanted my productivity better. What do you think is going to happen?
Yep.
You can't have well, you can if you want to keep your employees kind of screwed, and so the raises are controlled, that the metrics do fight each other. But
Yeah.
whatever. If it's not some sort of malfeasance and someone somewhere thought those were good ideas to put on a scorecard somewhere that has no idea how any of this works,
Right.
I wouldn't put them past that either. I mean, there's plenty of people that get paid lots of money that have 0 idea how any of this stuff works.
Yeah. Well, my favorite was they'd tell you, "Oh, well, there's other techs out there that do it. So why can't you?"
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, first of all, you're talking about the guy that gets 2 jobs in one day out in the
yeah.
middle of nowhere.
Up in Ashland, Wisconsin.
Yeah, wherever. Out in the middle of nowhere, he gets 2 jobs a day. Yeah, of course he's able to be productive and make sure that the customer's, not going to call back in. But then you have us down here, we've got 10, 11, 12 jobs, 12, trouble calls, installs a day. It's like, well, when do you want me to talk to the customer and teach them how to do this stuff?
Well, our area also has the oldest plant as well.
Yeah, we have the oldest network. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, some of that stuff's going to be the newest network.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's upgrading right now to where
Lots of upgrades happening right now. That's kind of
Yeah.
the cool thing about that Tech Life position is it's a winning position for every president. So as much as Trump is behind the cable workers,
Yeah.
as even Biden and the deep state and the military industrial, like everybody's for it because there's a end goal for everyone.
Oh,
in
yeah.
these things,
Well, at the very least, no one can push their agenda if no one has
Well, it's
internet or
jobs.
cable.
well, they never pat us on the back for COVID though.
Oh no, they made that really hard. But I
Yeah.
still have my nice CISA
Yeah.
certificate that I was supposed to keep in my car for
Yeah.
so I could show me my papers to the checkpoint guards when I was crossing. Man, I was waiting for that. I'm really that was really close. I feel like that was we were real close to that happening.
It was such a surreal thing because I guess at the time you kind of saw the red flags,
Yeah.
but at the time it was like, okay,
Well-
not surprising, they're shutting things down and we've got to prove to them that
what is your sign on the red flags? What do you mean?
Well, what I mean by that is, we are going through the whole pandemic thing and at the beginning of it, everyone was just like, okay, we don't know much about this, we don't want to get sick, blah 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 blah. And then it slowly devolved into, okay, well, the only way to keep people safe is to just lock down everything, only essential workers. And I'm like, that was the first red flag for me.
Yes.
Was that we're
Who's
shutting
essential?
Exactly. That was exactly
if
my
this
question.
is a thing that's going to kill mass amounts of people, why is anyone still at work?
Exactly.
Why are we still doing work at all?
Right.
Why is this? Why?
If this is as deadly as
Yeah.
you are claiming it to be, Why is anyone at
That was
work?
my first red flag, and when no one else really seemed to understand that, and I'm working with all these people, and they're just kind of like going along with it.
Yeah.
It was quite ridiculous, man. And
Well, and then then they started doing the mask mandate thing, and then they started doing the lockdown thing, and
how
we had
about the
to-
restaurants?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you had to wear your mask when you went inside the restaurant.
Yeah.
But once you sat down at your table, you could take your mask off.
Well, at the beginning, they just shut the restaurants down, right? They did
Right.
the whole lockdown thing, and then when they started opening them up, that's when they started doing that, and it's like, what's the point?
Hey, well, at least we got gift cards.
Oh, there was
Yeah,
all
there
sorts
were
of weird perks that were
weird
going
incentives. Yeah, it was so. It was just such a
on.
weird
Government
time.
paying us mass amounts of money while we were still working,
Yeah,
and they wanted to pay us all
yeah.
that money.
I
Remember
the
having that
stimulus.
conversation?
Yeah, yeah,
And
that
then
was
being like,
insane.
They wanted to give us like 10 grand. I was like, oh, cool. Let's see how fast the dollar can go to being worthless.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
it's like, who's
Yep.
spending? No one was spending money.
No, no.
I remember
Well,
all the vehicles.
if they were buying toilet paper.
That was funny, man. Yeah. I remember when everything came out, some of my California friends were like, it's the shitting disease.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting the toilet paper.
Yep. Toilet paper, cleaning supplies, hand sanitizer, all of that stuff. We all knew that the hand sanitizer existed, and the bottle always said
Oh,
Purell. And then COVID hits, and it's like, what is BioSilk? What is this?
Dude,
what is
so
this
many
brand? What is
different
this brand?
brands
And
shit.
half of them smelled like straight up vodka.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other half smelled like some fruity something or another.
It was,
know-
it was nice that I didn't have to buy Purell anymore.
Hey,
though.
That is
Hey,
true.
I have not bought disposable gloves, and it's nice because like I like when I'm cooking meat and stuff, like I
Oh,
like
yeah.
really rubbing that shit into the meat. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like the seasonings and stuff. So like I put the gloves on.
Like
Mm-hmm.
you're
Oh, what are
pretty
you gonna say?
normal, pretty normal on like rubbing meat.
What do you mean, Joe?
You like to rub it pretty hard, right?
I like to rub that seasoning in there real hard, Joe.
Yeah. What type of seasoning is it? Like white?
Lowry's.
Is it creamy?
It's Lowry's.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, what you got? No, that was your opportunity. You missed it. So, anyways, I mean, yeah, dude. Like, so the COVID thing, like, I was actually in more of an office setting at this point, still doing the same field, but I couldn't imagine being a technician at that point in time.
It was weird. It was really weird because you had to worry so much about what the people at their houses. You know, there were people that were deathly afraid of you even being at their door.
Then what are they doing calling you there in the first
Well,
place?
yeah, and then the weird thing was, we'd have work orders and there was specified outside work only because the customer didn't want to be contacted or come in contact with anybody. And then
I love
Okay.
those jobs because I just go out and like, yep, that's cable.
yeah, exactly. Well,
Right?
it's like that's the thing because we're going to be judged on repeats. If someone's going to call in a week later because we didn't
Well,
get to check anything out inside.
So I remember everybody had to go and the work from home, the homeschool, like the schooling. What do they call that? Remote school or whatever.
Yeah, remote learning.
Remote learning, kicked off in large. So I remember a lot of the companies made all these packs where like they weren't shutting things down. And I remember one of my jobs involved actually like going through the whole city's network and like you would take people down for very small moments at times. They'd notice an internet blip, like a disconnection or something. And then they'd call in and then a technician wouldn't find anything wrong because it was just so happened that I was looking for something in that neighborhood,
Yep.
But they actually created a program that found people doing that, would lock in their GPS location and like get them in trouble. Like it put you on a naughty list for taking down the plant without doing it the right way.
Yeah.
They got that real serious. So they were encouraging guys to go fishing. So like that job that I used to do, I would have been encouraged to just, if there's any problems, find them and then just notate them. But we don't want you doing anything to take down any plant, which is everything you do.
Yeah.
So that just means, just stay out of trouble. Go fish. Go do something else.
We
Go
don't
sit somewhere.
We don't care what you do, just don't do your job.
But arguably that is a privilege though as well. That being in the field in which we all are or were in, that like I'm still getting a paycheck, but they just don't want me to do anything. So
Yeah, dude. I get
I get
that.
it. Yeah.
And no, I couldn't look. in some circumstances, is that awesome? Sure. But that's not the way I'm wired as an individual. When I'm going to work and earning a paycheck, I don't want to fish. I would rather be home doing other stuff at that point.
Well, I think the biggest problem with it that I saw with things like that, and they did that a decent amount, but what the hypocrisy of it, because 6 months after that, when everything was running fine, they're putting they're expecting you to do this, that. You know, it's like, well, what about 6 months ago when you told me to go fishing?
yeah.
It's like, you're still the same company that you were.
Well,
Why are you acting
I
like?
feel like that inspired the whole COVID boom, inspired that whole silent quitting type thing, where you just kind of show up at work and you're there, and it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
You're just gonna pay me to fish, fine. I'm gonna just get paid to do the very bare minimum. I'm
Yep.
not gonna go above and beyond anymore. Like, screw you. It kind of gave everybody that screw you mentality, because a bunch of people were told they weren't essential anymore.
Yeah.
You paid people that were getting paid unemployment. They were paid more than some of what we were getting paid. I think at the time, they were getting paid more than what we were both getting. All three of us were getting paid.
Yeah, that's I
With
think I remember.
with the bonuses.
Your cousin there, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got paid so much money to be on unemployment. I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I working for?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
that's
made
right.
a lot
I
of
do
people
remember
do
that,
that.
yeah.
And yeah, because you would get the basic unemployment, but there was a bonus on top of it
Yeah.
that made it super like incentivized.
Well,
to
they were
just-
getting paid like between $600 and $800 a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really good money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I work.
Well,
right,
and in 2021, yeah. I mean, 2020, 2021. I mean, the 600 to 800 nowadays, even just in the last couple of years, would be like, okay. I mean, it's okay. Back then it was still really good money. That was good money
yeah,
back
yeah,
then.
because everything was cheap
Right.
too. Everything dropped down in price because the demand was.
Yep.
Everything was so screwed up.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that definitely made the tech life a little weird, I would say.
Yeah, it was definitely weird being a
weird what they
technician in that era, going to making house calls and things like that. I mean, you had to wear boot covers, not just to protect their carpet, but to stop germs spreading from another house on your boots into their house.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, before it was just to make sure that we didn't get mud on their carpet.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Yeah, I used to just do
Didn't-
that
didn't
to
care.
save my boots from roach eggs.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, I mean, and during the pandemic too, it was all about masks. You had to be wearing a mask, and
Yeah,
at
I
one
couldn't
point they tried to
handle that
enforce
at
us.
all.
Well, they tried to enforce us to wear gloves at every job too.
Didn't they come out with a video with a guy putting on the tie-on mask? They wanted you guys to do the crazy tie-on mask, the cloth one that
I don't remember that.
I don't
tied
think
on the
so.
top and on the bottom.
I think I do remember at first that you could only use approved masks. That you
Yeah.
couldn't wear a piece of cloth over your face. You couldn't wear XYZ. It had to be something that was approved for you to wear.
Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a weird time, especially. I mean, it was not. It was kind of cool that I still got to do my job during that whole thing, but at the same time, you're right. They did incentivize people just to stay home.
Yeah, we were
And-
essential though. We had to keep the
essential.
internets going.
Yeah. And then the company felt like they had to incentivize us, so every week they'd give us like a $25 gift card to a restaurant
Dude, we were getting gift
somewhere.
cards.
Yeah.
That
were-
only,
they
that
were
only
giving
lasted
us-
about a month.
No, we got a whole
Yeah.
bonus thing.
Oh yeah, there was a bonus schedule. You got COVID time. You got
You got a pay raise.
yeah.
It was weird, man.
It was a weird time. That was the years before that. It was a cool job. In my mind, I think that's
It was
when I
going-
started.
yeah.
Yeah, that's when I started kind of like, I don't know.
It
if
was
this
getting
is-
downhill. I'd say when we first started that year, 2015, it was still good. Like, we still had
Oh,
fun. We
yeah.
had plenty of fun.
Oh yeah.
And it was cool because I'm saying like fun, but we still got a ton of work done.
Yes, that was the thing. They made it an environment to where you could get your entire job done and still enjoy the camaraderie of the other technicians and the teamwork and
Yeah.
all that. And then it was like 1 year, boom, that's gone. You focus on what you need to do. Don't
was-
worry about anyone else.
Like a punishment almost came
Yeah,
down the hand.
yeah.
Yeah,
we
you
used to
would-
go and just throw the freaking football around like daily.
Yeah, well, we would all like, hey, what's your route look like?
Yeah,
Hey, what yours look like?
Yeah.
Okay,
we were on
okay,
group chats.
I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go do this, and then I'm gonna come help you. Or hey, can you come help me after that? Like, hey,
Yep.
let's get all our
Yeah.
work done, and then we'll go.
We'll go get lunch.
Yeah,
Yep.
Break
And then
off from there.
they completely did away with any of that. Like they made it impossible for you to do that. I mean, we still found ways, I suppose.
Well,
Towards,
yeah,
but-
we fought it all the way, man.
yeah. Yep.
But we all saw the writing on the wall, and everybody started getting out, and then the teams, the fun group started breaking up, and
Yeah. Well, it was crazy. You know what was crazy about that too is, I don't know. I don't think I've ever experienced that with another job, but the entire atmosphere changed from the when I started that career, that kind of job. It was so much different. The camaraderie and the overall morale
yeah,
was so much different when I started versus when I left. And when we started, you know, everyone was pretty happy with the job that we were doing. And then like 3 years after that, 3 years after I started, you'd get new guys come in and they're like, "Oh, this is a pretty cool job." And we're like, "Oh, you have no idea what it used to be like. It was so awesome, and now it's just getting worse." And then 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, it's like,
yeah,
don't tell me this is a good job. I know what it was like before,
right.
you know?
and it's kind of gives you some from when like the older guys told you like things. Oh, no,
Oh,
it
yeah.
used to be a lot better. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know why you're complaining. It's pretty cool now. And then to be that guy later on,
Yeah,
like, dude, it used to be so much better.
Yeah.
And these people are like, dude, I don't know, it's pretty cool, you know? It's like, yeah, but dude, it used to be
It
better.
used to be better. Yeah.
I still believe that this industry is a good place to be.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's definitely job security.
Yeah, job security,
Yeah.
but it is still like fun to a point, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not as cool, but it's still like, yeah, we're sitting here shitting on it and stuff like that.
Well, not all. No, I mean,
No, yeah.
it's definitely been, dude. I mean, this is the only work I've done where I've gone to work enjoying my day. Like,
Yeah,
you know, like I'm not like, oh, I gotta go to work tomorrow,
right.
which I do, but like I'm not upset about it. You know, it's like the only thing that upsets me now is like that I'm away from my family. You know, that time is just that I'm away from my family. And it's not, yeah, it's the job itself. I love anything in this field. I've loved, you know, there's people that can make it rough. Your bosses can suck. That can put a hamper on things. We've all
Yeah.
had those. But like any job duty from the technician role to like the project management role, the field engineering, getting hands on, you know, being kind of more the IT, the head end, whatever aspect of it, I've enjoyed every aspect I've been in it, dude. Like it's something that I love this field,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful because there was just some random guy, dude. We're just like talking, just getting high, just like, you want to do you want to do fiber optics? I'm like, I don't know what that is. Oh, dude, it's real easy, man. I get you like $20 an hour, maybe 19, maybe 18. You know, start. You don't have any experience. Maybe 16, you know, and he kind of
Yeah.
kept going down. And I'm like, well, still, man, I was used to making like, I was like $10 an hour. at
Oh,
that
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that sounds pretty good. And I don't know what it is, but he's like, oh, it's real easy. You know, you sit in trailers. It's real cool. It's real cool. Real hands off. Like people just leave you alone. You just get to go do your thing. I was like, well, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
We'll give it a shot, you know, and gave it a shot. And man, I fell in love with it. And the only reason, you know, I felt from that first company was just because I wanted to get closer to home.
Yeah.
And then that's when I met you guys.
Yeah, I got approached about a year ago to from some IT company. I was eating lunch and they wanted to steal me right from the company
Yeah.
because they understand that like what I do has a lot of like troubleshooting skills, and like not everyone that comes right out of college is able to do like real world troubleshooting.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
So like they're like, oh, they wanted to steal me away, and they're like, oh yeah, we can pay you pretty good, probably better than what you're making. And he's like, oh, we can probably get you about $18, $16 an hour. I'm like, nah, dog, you out of your mind, dude.
Yeah.
Talk
yeah.
about restarting, brother.
Right.
Yeah, because when I came into, I mean, I was right around 14 and a quarter, I think. And I mean, it's just been uphill from there. It is definitely one of those fields where you just, if you're a hard worker at it, you get rewarded, man.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons that I got into it So, I mean, I'll be honest. When I applied for the cable installer, I was just looking for a better job because at that point I was at Hardee's, you know, a line cook.
Running the grease traps.
Yeah, exactly. And I jumped on that opportunity to get out of there.
What a different walk of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
But I will say the one thing that definitely appealed to me the most about that job was I still get to use my hands and do something technical, but I've always been kind of a people person. And so I got to meet, you know, new people every day. I got to talk to people. You know, sometimes you'd talk opinions on stuff.
Yeah.
They kind of frowned upon that some, but
It happened a lot,
yeah,
though, man.
yeah,
This is what it is.
so that was one of the things that I really liked. Now, granted, there was a lot of customers out there that you really wished you hadn't met at
Yeah.
all, but at the same time, there were just as many, if not, I would say maybe more.
Nah,
that,
probably
that you
the
know,
majority were good people.
yeah, yeah,
People got talking about opinions, not really around COVID. I mean, obviously you had those opinions, and opinions you kind of kept to yourself. Like, I don't want to piss this guy off. But
Yeah.
it got really opinionated when the Russian-Ukrainian war started.
Oh, really?
At least for me, I would notice people talking like, "Yeah, we need to stop them from invading Ukraine." It's like, why is that our problem?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, oh, but they're killing Ukrainians. Like, yeah, guess what? They're Ukrainians.
Yeah,
They
and
can fight
we
for themselves.
We kind of helped force their hand on fighting those Ukrainians, so we could have helped by doing what we were doing.
Yeah, it's like, no, we have to send troops over there. It's like, why?
No,
Explain to me why we need to. Like,
just like we don't need to send them to Israel.
Yeah.
No, we don't
Yeah.
need to send them to Iran.
I'm trying to think.
and I never really like got heavy into it, but they'd be on the TV and I'm like, oh, what do you think about this? And they'd give me an opinion. I'm like, okay, don't agree, but
Interesting.
okay.
Yeah,
That's very interesting. I did see someone painted their house the Ukrainian colors.
It's understandable if you are Ukrainian. Okay,
I don't know if these people, if it felt like such the virtue signal from where this house was located.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was like, dude, I'm talking blue house, like yellow shutters. Like,
Nice.
it was rough. It
Maybe
was
they're
like,
maybe they're just
wow.
Michigan State fans.
Yeah.
I doubt it, man. No one's that big of a
It's
fan.
all IKEA furniture.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, IKEA.
The IKEA house.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, man, people, the Ukrainian stuff. You know, I haven't really, because like in my current role, I'm not dealing with any people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
That
I never-
must be really nice, right?
it's really
I
nice,
was never
actually.
really, honestly, because I was always a field tech when I was there. So I never really experienced the job without the customer interaction.
Sure.
And I was always curious about that. But that being said, again, that was one of the main reasons that I did like that job is because of the interactions that I would have with customers. So I don't know if I would like it more. I probably would have, honestly. But I never had that. I never got that in the company that we worked for.
I enjoy my alone time a lot.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I still have more interactions than you do, Kyle, but they're still super limited. It's just the IT guy, like, hey, here it is, and then he's gonna go away for a while.
Right.
So I just get to sit there alone
Well-
and just do whatever I need to do.
Now I've got a job where I don't interact with basically anybody.
There you go, man.
Well, there you
It's
go. I
lonely?
don't know. Yeah, it's not lonely. Isn't the word? It's boring. Just boring.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I get my work. I get my work done. I get done what needs to be done. But it's just sometimes it becomes very monotonous. Very, it's the same thing every day. And that was one thing that I actually did. I don't know if I appreciated it until I didn't have it anymore. But that was one cool thing about being a field tech was that every day
Every
was
day is
different.
different, dude.
Yep. And every job was different. You had to look around and try to figure out what the problem was, and now
And working outside is actually awesome. Like, as much as
Yeah.
it might, the wintertime sucks. Sure. It does suck. But if you slow down because the cable actually works a lot better in the wintertime.
yeah, that's true.
So there's not as many calls.
It's not just about even working better. No one's digging.
That too. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
less cuts happening, less
Yeah.
so you're not as busy. So it's like, yeah, the weather does suck, but your outdoor exposure is so much less than
Well,
during
yeah,
the
but
summer.
even if it is, I mean, once winter ends and you're into spring and you're in that 60, 70 degree weather, it's like
driving around
it's like
with the window down.
I'm never leaving this job. I get to
Yep.
work out in this every day, you know.
just driving around with a big smile
Yeah.
on my face with the
Yep.
sun beaming on.
And then
It's
you
like,
get
oh,
the-
it's great.
And then you get the first day where it's sub-zero to temperatures and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
I hate I'm leaving this place. I swear to God.
It's that difference of like, I hate this, and then you're like, I have no motivation to do anything,
Yeah.
and then as soon as spring hits, you're motivated to do everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to rerun this entire 4 outlet house?
Yeah.
Yep, I'll be outside for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
Done. Got you. I'll rewire this entire place. Don't care.
Yeah, there was a peak motivation in the spring for
Oh, yeah.
everybody because I mean, all of the service lines or drops as we called them, all of the service lines coming from the pole to the house, all of those that didn't get changed in the winter because we didn't want to go outside, all of them got changed in the spring because we wanted to be outside.
Yeah, that was the time, man.
Yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah,
so
there's some
much
fun times. I had a great time out in the field. You
Yeah.
know, because I can count on my hand the bad experiences I had. It was mostly roach houses where they just stunk or.
Oh,
had-
dude, let's do that. How about worst house you were ever into? Well, yeah.
The first one I had to deny was the very first, the worst house I've ever been in, because all right, so like the owner of the home's son had separated with like, I guess like those childlike stair gates, you know, safety gates.
Mm-hmm.
So between the entryway of the house, kind of like there's like a living room. So like a main living room section and then like a front room. I guess that probably like the dining room. It's hard to explain because you know
It was a bigger old
it's
house.
a bigger
right?
old house,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like the big open floor plan. So you come inside and then there's these child gates and it's kind of like a section. And you can see in the kitchen from this other room there's another set of child gates and there's puppies. Lots of puppies being like raised in this middle area. Hardwood floor, poo, pee everywhere, smells horrible, looks horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, how do we get to the rest of the house? Because like, do we need to walk through here? He's, it's probably best if we just walk out the front and back around the back. All right, red flag, right? Like, if
Yes.
that's something that needs to happen, this job's getting down. So I proceed to walk through the guy takes me out the front door. We walk around the back, come back in. Okay, he takes me into where his parents are. So he's like moved his parents into this tiny room that is stacked floor to ceiling, wall to wall with stuff.
Yep.
Hoarder deluxe. So I'm right away like, well,
Was
I
it
don't
like
know
the-
how I would get a cable outlet into this this room at all.
Was it like nasty hoarder or like somewhat organized hoarder?
This was like the somewhat it was organized hoarder. Like
Okay.
it was stacked. It was a nice stack, but it was like I don't know how you would get to anything.
Right.
So at this point I'm like, all right, well, it smells like poopy dogs. It's stinky. You got these people. So it's like two separate things now going on that are red flags all over the place. Takes me down in the basement where they want, he's like showing me basically where they need the cable boxes, right? And the parents' bedroom, okay, takes me down the stairs and it smells horrible down there. I don't see anything crazy wrong. There's people down there living. Okay.
Yeah.
One down here. All right, cool. Now he wants one where he's staying. Where's he staying? Oh, I'm up in the attic. Up, it's third floor access. All right, cool. Whatever. Let's go. So he's like, yeah, I don't know if you need to bring a line in through the roof.
Through the roof.
Through the roof. Yeah, just I'm gonna drill that sucker through there and just run the line through. We'll see how that works
man.
out. Or he goes and he pulls one of the vents, man, like off of the wall, and it's all it took some struggle to get that thing off.
Yeah.
And roaches just scatter everywhere,
Oh,
man.
my
And I was like, okay. So I was like, yep, I gotta go outside real fast. Go outside, and I called the boss because this was the first bad house I'd ever been to.
Yeah.
Working here, and my work ethic doesn't allow me to just say like, dude, no.
Right.
So I call my boss. I'm like, dude, look, man, I'm not messing around with this. This is really bad. And he wanted me to tell those people that it was like a health hazard and,
Yeah.
you know, they should be condemned. Like he wanted me to be that person. I was like, okay, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking of something else. I'm going to tell him. I'm like, you know what? I got it. The hard line's all messed up and they can't get a good connection off of it. So there's really no point in me doing any sort of thing for them right now because nothing's going to work. So there, it's, you know, something in the works that needs to be fixed. I think a couple weeks later, I learned that a contractor ended up getting that install and doing it.
Yeah.
What was your go-to line, Zach, again?
What was my go-to line?
To get out of work?
Oh boy, I don't remember. Hold on one second. Let me think about this.
Like out of jobs, like when in the customer.
To try to get out of a job. Yeah.
Oh,
If
you
it
had
was-
some good ones.
Oh, what was it?
I had some really good ones too. I just can't remember what they were.
Hold on.
I don't down them anymore. So it's
Right. I remember Zach's good one that I witnessed was him telling somebody because of the way the repeats work.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that one.
was it,
so
yeah.
Pixelation. It was about pixelation, and he was complaining about internet and his TV not working and everything. No, we weren't even there for TV. I was there for internet. Yeah. And then as we were about to leave, he starts complaining about pixelation. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I've already been here for an hour and a half and now you're telling me this? So I told him, I said, well, tell you what. I said, because pixelation can be really intermittent and it's hard for us to diagnose intermittent issues, tell you what, keep a note of every time it pixelates, write down date, time, and everything, and the severity of it. And then after 30 days, after 31 days, give us a call back, and then we can compare those notes with all of our signal levels that we keep track of. And the importance of that is because you would not get repeated and it wouldn't look negatively on you if someone went back to that house after 30 days of us being there. So that was one of my go-tos that I kind of just came up with out of my butt to try to get this guy to not call in because I knew he was going to call in again. And I don't know if anyone ever got that job like 35 days later. But I'll bet if they did, they were probably mad.
they get this piece of paper and just like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Because we did. Now, it was true that we had a program that we could monitor signal levels for 30 days, but nobody looked into it that specifically. So when they were, I'm sure, I can tell you, if me as a technician, if I was greeted at the door with a notebook full of every single time his box pixelated, I probably would have been like, "Oh, sorry, can't help. The wife's having a baby. I gotta go."
It was always nice when you had like when you would go with when you and I, right, Zach and I would go link up and we'd like, hey, let's go hit some jobs together.
Yeah,
and we'd walk into the house and it's either disgusting. Or it's just like some dumb call or something like that. And we're like, we look at each other and we already know what we're about to do. And we feed him some sort of line just like that would warrant him not to call back in for a long time.
Yep.
And then we would leave and either one of us would start laughing depending on whose jobs it was.
Yeah.
And because I know what he's doing and I just sit there and just like, oh, yeah.
It was always the best is trying to hold in the laughter. It's like someone's just feeding them a line.
Oh, God.
Try to see who could say the most outlandish shit to someone.
Yeah.
You know who was really good at that?
Rob.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
Rob was
man.
good.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Oh, what a hero. But he would like just confidently tell these people some stuff, and it's like
That's really all I had to do.
I just kind of look at him like, man, you're so good. Like none of what you said made any sense.
Yeah.
Like, I know you just have to say it confident, and they don't question it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, man, but
that was his motto.
Man.
I mean, even when he became a supervisor, that was his motto. That's what he would tell his technicians was, just say it with confidence. They'll believe you.
Yeah.
They won't call back in. Just say it with confidence.
You're the expert.
Yeah, what was really nice about it as well, when you get people that are experts as well in
quote
quotations.
unquote.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're there.
So they would start speaking technically with you,
Yeah.
like they know stuff. So you're like, oh, okay. then you just start speaking technically with them as well.
Yeah.
But you pull out every single big word
Yep.
that you
and then
like.
you find out real fast just where they sit in the knowledge pool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, especially when you started talking about like quantum constellations and stuff like that. Like, oh, you really want to get technical, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let me just talk about constellations and how if this is deviating, let me pull up the module and like, oh, you see this 256 square. Oh, you see how these pixels right here are actually deviating a little bit here. Like you would just get super technical with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah.
Well, you get those weird trouble like, oh, this is a 4-peat. And it's like, okay. You get
Oh,
in there,
yeah.
it's like,
Oh,
oh, man,
God.
what's going on with this guy? And it's either like one of two things, right? It's someone who like, it's like the boomer dad, like me, playing video games, and it's like, man, what the hell? I lagged, and that's why I died. That's why that guy didn't die when I shot him. It's not because I suck and my,
Yeah.
hand-eye coordination isn't what it used to be. It's not anything to do with that. So you have those people that call in. It's got to be lag. It's got to be the cable.
Yep.
They're why I suck at video games. It's either them, or it's those people that it's like, just the weird. You go inside and it's like, yeah, man, it's a 4-peat. They just can't figure out what's wrong. All right, well, what RF, radio frequency, what we're dealing with. And you go in, it's like a guy that like collects, like radio fucking.
Oh yeah, ham radio operator.
Ham radio
Yeah.
operators or like RC car hobbyist,
Yep.
and he's got like thousands of these things running simultaneously. It's like
Yep.
radio frequency, brother. Like
Well,
you're
then
hogging
he's-
all the bandwidth, man, in your remotes.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
And then
crazy.
he's like, well, how come I can't get, well, he's trying to internet game, but he doesn't have a direct connection.
Yeah.
He's just using
Over
the
the
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. Yeah.
And you're like, you're looking around and you're like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Oh, I
Well-
love that, man.
well,
They'll
and
have
my
lines
favorite
running
too
everywhere
is
using the Wi-Fi.
it'd be the ham radio operators that were the ones that would brag to you, oh yeah, I put all my connectors on my cables
yeah.
myself because I don't think anyone else should have to do that. Meanwhile, you look at the connectors that they put on that cable.
Yeah, it's the reason why they're having issues.
That's the yeah.
You're seeing 70 braids around the center conductor, and you're
yeah.
like, oh, come on, dude.
The gold
Yeah.
Radio Shack splitters.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those
The
were
gold splitters.
bad.
The gold
yeah.
ones, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you there'd be moments where you didn't know there was a gold splitter, and you're like, I have a plus 12 and a 40 here.
Yeah.
Why is it changing
Yeah.
to a 53 and a negative 12?
Yeah.
Right?
What is going on?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
For those that don't know, that's good signal to bad signal in a very small
Yeah,
know,
this line
distance.
is only going 50 feet.
yeah.
What is
talk
going
about
on?
a mind death. I had have a similar situation, but the signal gains. Where after this like 50-foot
yeah,
section, you're
yeah.
at like it was at -7 at the house box, and now you're at like plus 15. It's like,
Yeah.
what? And then come to find out, buried behind the entertainment center, the couch or somewhere is a
There's
plus
an
15
amplifier,
amp,
yeah.
from the freaking 90s. It's just blasting signal everywhere.
Well, then you steal those amps
Yeah,
for
you
a
definitely
rainy
steal
day.
those.
Yep.
Come to
or-
find out, they're all bad.
Oh yeah, for the
Oh,
most
they
part,
would be, but they'd get you out of a tight spot.
It's that one moment you need them,
Yeah.
or like RSAs, right? Like
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember those being
Like-
a lot more valuable at one point than they were at another point, because then they started giving them out.
No, we had to hide them. Kyle, you don't
I remember
understand.
having to hide them, but then they started giving them out. Like they started giving them back.
They started giving them back out, and then they like very strictly banned them
Oh.
towards the end. Like when I was there,
out. Okay.
they did not give them out. They did not want you to use them, and to the point where we were having to hide our stashes because we didn't want the supervisors to find.
Oh, they would like confiscate them.
Yeah.
You guys? Oh,
Oh, yeah.
wow.
I didn't use RSAs very often, but it was that one moment where you're like, how am I gonna get this signal in spec? There's
Yeah.
there's literally no way I can do this.
Right. And just to make this in as simple as it is, it's when coax, it has an up signal and a down signal,
Yeah.
and this just only the RSA only affects one side of that signal. So it's like, oh man, I can't get it balanced. You put one of these on just to get the one side to look good.
Yeah,
I think the reason they didn't want them to use them is because technologically advancements they were frequencies they were using were blocked out by them or something like
oh
that.
yeah, I'm sure that's what it was,
Well, and they just go bad often.
and they go
Well,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anything you put onto anything is a fail point too. You know?
Right. The more you,
Filters. How many of
more-
those amps would any sort of lightning storm would go through, and you had a bunch of calls, and
Oh, they
You
were
change
all
3 or 4 amps a day because
Yep.
all those no loss amps would go bad from the electrical storm.
Just the power supplies.
The power supplies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember them only allowing us to get like 1 or 2 amps
You had
every
to
week
sign them
too?
out. I remember having to sign them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nuts too.
Well, we're now going to high split nodes. So a high
Yeah.
split nodes is more or less they're moving the noise floor, right? So you remember how
Sure.
it used to be at 52 megahertz?
Mhm.
It's the noise floor is now being moved to 204 megahertz, which means that they're not moving the noise floor. They're moving the upstream. So the upstream was at 54 megahertz,
Yeah.
if you remember.
Mhm.
They're now moving it to 204 megahertz, which means that you can now get higher up speeds.
Right.
So now
okay.
we're going to symmetrical speeds. So you're going to eventually be able to get 300 and 300,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is
gotcha.
over coax, which is insane.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now we have these high splits.
Compared to where we started, yeah, that's so funny.
that's-
yeah.
Yeah, that's what
So-
the telco companies do over fiber now, and what fiber can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Symmetrical speeds.
Yeah. So now we're doing high splits, which means we're also increasing the megahertz to where the super high end is as well. So where those no loss amps could only peak at 850 megahertz, right?
Right.
So now it's going to 1.2 megahertz or gigahertz, whatever
Gig.
you want to call it. Yeah, gigahertz. Which means that those no loss amps can't be used anymore.
Right.
So like they're now obsolete, and now you have to hope that we find another amp. But now because, but at the same time though, now because we're going at higher frequencies, you can actually your modulation of error increases. So now instead of when you and I ended our time in coax, it was what you could only if it goes above 52 return, fix it. You got a problem.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
you can go as high as like 57.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder because my sister-in-law, her Comcast boxes, they were similar boxes that
That
the
we
other company
used,
were at. Yeah. So, but they're in the Chicago market. But I was like, oh, that box, I'm used to seeing that. So I clicked on it and opened up the diagnostics menu, and it labeled the return signal strength at 57, which generally that's what it would max. It wouldn't even show you a higher level.
Yeah,
than
it would
that
max
on the box.
out,
It
yep.
would max out at 57. That generally meant something was wrong. But everything worked just fine. They didn't have any pixelation, and they were also ahead of the curve on the coax taps that would be addressable, so they could like turn off the individual port. Because I mean,
yeah.
we would still do the disconnects and going through
Yep.
the hood and doing disconnects. That was always fun.
Ooh. Yeah, that was
Fun. I don't know about that one.
No,
Depending
well,
on
Man,
no,
it was
depending,
kind of fun
depending.
because it'd be like a challenge. It's like, all right, how fast and
Yeah.
how like
that's exactly what it was.
nonchalant
Well,
can I do this?
Well, and then it was always the fear with like you would have that particular person come outside, like, "Hey, you shut me off." I'm like, "No, not
No,
you. You're
just-
good. Don't
yeah.
worry about it. We're just doing regular maintenance." And you're like,
hurry up, get down, get down, get down.
yeah,
and,
man.
"Yeah, you would
Hold
you'd
on,
be in and out."
didn't you have a situation where there was like a group of people that they knew that they were going to be disconnected, so they'd like show up and hang out at the pole and like
Yeah.
bully the people? Wasn't that you?
Yeah, I had.
I swear, yeah, man.
It was,
How'd that go? How have we not talked about this story yet?
Well, it sucked because it was it was just me who came out and did it. So like I ran up there and disconnected them, and they all came out. Like all
Good.
15 people come out,
Oh, I do remember this.
and I'm
yeah.
like,
Uh,
crap.
that's a lot of people.
Yeah, and I was like, well, it's just me. So it's like, what am I supposed to do?
it was the corner house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you hook them back up?
Yeah.
Oh
And
God!
Well, I was like, well, what else am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like,
They
I'm feeding
bullied him, man.
Yeah, well, I'm feeding them a line of crap, but they're not taking it. And I was
Yeah.
like, dude, pay your bill, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't that it? They were trying to say we just paid it.
Yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, you didn't. But and then the very next day, I rolled out with 4 guys,
Yeah.
and we all ran up. Well, not all of us ran up there, but one of them watched. Like all 3 of them watched while one of us ran up there and disconnected them. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, like if it's just me, like what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
especially when you're
get it.
18 feet, 20 feet up in the air.
On a ladder,
And you've
looking
got-
down like,
yeah.
oh,
And you've got, how many people were there? I assume probably 7, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7.
It was probably realistically it was probably about 8.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's a lot.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Just come running out of the
You
house.
got 8 people coming out of the house, and you're at the top of a ladder. It's like, okay, no, I'll just hook you guys back up. That's what I would do too. I would have hooked them right back up and been like, you know what, this job isn't worth my life.
You know, I just realized too. I talked about my worst house, but we haven't talked about either of your guys' worst houses yet.
Ooh, I think I don't know if I was at you with your worst house that you've ever been to, but I do remember. I remember that was one of the worst houses I've been to. Was the one that we went to together.
Who?
And Joe, sorry. Yeah, I'm pointing and I realize now no one can see who I'm pointing at. But then Kyle, I also went with you to one that was like one of the worst houses I've ever seen.
Oh,
There was-
I forgot about
There
that
was a
one.
house. So, well, I'll tell the story about the one I went with Joe on. We went into this house and it was a broke down old house, tiny house, and he takes us into the basement.
Well, before you continue, sorry.
Yeah.
You can set the tone. The upstairs, fine, no problems.
Yeah,
You had a little smell
You
of
had some
like
smell.
ammonia. It was like
Yeah.
so it was cat pee. So you had a little
Okay.
bit of like that ammonia smell. You're like, not bad, but like okay, it's lived in, right? Like
Yeah.
oh, that's fine. You know, I can kind of smell something.
Yeah,
Throw some Febreze on, you're squared away, right?
sure.
And then
we
go into the basement.
We go
and it's a
into the
change.
basement. We go into the basement, and did we look to the right or the left first? I think it was to the left, right?
Well, I walk down the stairs. I'm first. I like the guy's kind of leading me, and I'm walking downstairs. Zach's behind me, and we have a landing platform.
Yep.
And you have a closet in front of you, and then you have an area to your right and your left. On that platform, there is probably an inch worth of fungus sitting on it. And that's the first thing you see.
Dude, we didn't know what it was. It was slimy and it was
Slippery and slick.
slippery and we couldn't tell what it was. I didn't know what I was stepping in at that point. And I started moving it around and it's like, dude, this has got to be like fungus of some sort. It was just a layer of it was gross. It was disgusting.
Like green gel.
No, it was like black. It was like blackish brown gel. And it wasn't like, put it this way, it wasn't the consistency where we automatically thought, oh, this is raw sewage.
Mm-hmm.
It was like fungus. It stuck together enough. It wasn't liquidy. It was just slimy, gross stuff. And then we look to the left where there's some guy playing video games and we see Gatorade bottles and a bunch of garbage, just plain garbage. And there's a bunch of Gatorade bottles clearly filled to the brim with urine. And they're piled.
Yeah. And
They're piled.
at first, like where that dude is sitting, it's maybe only, to your knee, right? So
Right.
that pile's to your knee, and you're like, okay, that's disgusting, but it's not that bad, right? So okay, fine. I think I've seen worse. I'll go and I'll take a step inside. I take a step inside, and the room expands even more. It opens up, and I look to my left again, and I'm actually looking up.
Yeah.
And it's over 6 feet tall, and it spans the entire room. So
Yeah.
I'm like doing a panoramic, and I'm like, oh my god.
That one was very gross.
And the smell was bad. We left.
We left. Yeah. I mean, I
The
think
dude was pissed, and
Yeah.
I was like, dude, you need to take care of this. I will not return.
well, I remember our supervisor, I think, asked me because I think you had told him that I was with you, and he asked me. He said, "Was this house was it that bad, or could you guys have actually done the work?" I'm like, "No, it was bad. It was very, very bad, and there was no reason we should have been in there."
gaming over there with like visibly piss bottles. Dude.
Oh yeah,
That is the most disgusting thing I think you could walk in on. Like
Yeah.
if someone just no shame in it, man. Just here's my bottles of piss.
What?
Well, and then the other one that I remember. These are probably the grossest houses I've been into, honestly. And it's funny that I was with both of you guys. But the one that we went to, it was a nasty house just in general. I mean, there was cat pee, the smell of cat urine all over the place. There was stuff, there was just garbage everywhere. There
Talk
was
about red flags
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. And then
Little
I'll
antennas
never,
peeking out from the freaking.
no, that dude, yes, I'll never forget that part where, so we were already grossed out from being in there. We wore our boot covers into this house just so we didn't get anything nasty on
Yeah,
our
it was
boots.
more for us than her.
Yeah. And so we're already kind of disgusted walking through this house. And then as we're walking out the back door to the driveway, Kyle is looking at me and then pointing over between the fridge and the wall where there's a piece of trim. And he's pointing and I'm like, "What? What are you looking at? What are you doing?" He keeps pointing and he's like, "You don't see that?" And I see two little antennas just feeling around into the air. And I'm like, "What the heck?" Sure enough, there's like 4 or 5 roaches between the trim and the wall because the trim was separated
everywhere in that place.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, and you just see all these antennas just poking out of the trim, and they're moving. They're literally moving back and forth, both of them. It's like
that's when you go outside. Like, hey, I gotta go outside for a moment. You run your test, and you're like, alrighty, I fixed it. I changed your fittings out here, cleared everything up for you. I'm gonna.
That's all well and good if it was a trouble call, but every time I went there, it was for an install because
Yeah.
you get non-paid and turn her equipment in, and I had to put a modem or something in there.
Well, this was
and I had to go there like 2 or 3 times.
Well, I remember that was one of the houses where you took your boot covers off and left them on
Yeah,
their
you didn't
curb.
take those with you.
You didn't put them in your trash in your van
No
because
way.
no.
Or when you had to repossess equipment that you know was full of roaches, and you hey, I have duct tape or electrical tape and boot covers.
Yeah.
And
You wrapped it up as much as you could.
Oh, and then you waited for the email to come through. Don't do this anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep doing that if I have
don't
the
doing
suspected roach
don't
shock.
care.
And that's the thing. It's like people will say, "Oh, well, it's not your van. Why does it matter?" It's like I have to work in it.
Yeah,
This
I
is
take
my
it home.
office.
This
is my office.
Mobile,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. My mobile office, man.
Or that other house, not a house, but you and I both went up to like the 10th floor.
Oh, okay. That is grossest.
You had a worse field day than I did.
Yeah. So that was actually
Height of COVID.
I take that back. Yeah, that is probably the grossest interaction I think I've ever come in contact with. So
He's viscerally shaking now.
It's okay. So
It's all coming back.
we get to it's a senior living apartment building.
Okay.
And we get on the elevator and we're in the elevator moving up. Okay. We get to about the 2nd floor and we start smelling something. And we're like,
it's progressively, we're smelling something. And we're like, surely this couldn't be the one we're going to.
Well, then we get up to the 3rd floor, the elevator doors open and we're just smacked in the face. Well, I think I was because you were wearing a heavier duty mask. This was in the heat of COVID.
Well, I still smelt it.
You did? Okay.
But like I knew where, like, it smelled like expired milk.
Oh, that's a
yeah.
bad smell.
Yep. And
That
I'm
is
like,
a really bad smell.
I could smell it, and I'm like, still, surely.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
The
that
elevator.
This is for us?
Yeah, exactly. The elevator door is open. We're like, okay, we know it's on this floor, but it can't be the one that we're going to, right? You know. So we start going towards we're trying to figure out which hallway to go down for our apartment, and we start going down the hallway, and we get it stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger until finally we're at the apartment. The door is open and the woman is out in the hall in her wheelchair and she's like, "Oh, hello, right here." And we're, oh my God.
I'm like, oh
my
fuck.
God. It was bad. And so we finally get into the actual apartment. And Joey was wearing a more heavy duty mask than I was. So he wasn't getting as much of the smell.
Well, I was like, even when I took the mask off, I think you were just I don't know, more attuned to it. I think it was mostly because I was just laughing at you too much that I was just like,
All right. So Kyle, I'm going to tell you. So we walk into this apartment
Yeah.
and it smells ungodly bad. And I'm looking around for things like, what could this be? What is this? You know? And so, she's out in the hallway talking to her neighbors. So we're in this apartment, just me and Joey, and I'm looking around feverishly trying to figure out what I can
What's the
throw
smell?
out the window so we can get rid of the smell. And so I finally, I couldn't find it. So I started looking for Febreze or anything, you know. I went in, maybe I shouldn't admit this, whatever. I went into a bedroom that I probably shouldn't have gone into. I had no business being in there. I went into this other bedroom and found a can of Febreze.
Yeah.
And so I proceeded to pull my mask away from my face. It was still on my ears. It was away from my face. And I sprayed the Febreze for like 3 solid seconds into my mask. And then I snapped it back. And I'm like, oh. And then 10 seconds later, I'm like, oh my God, no, it's back. It's back. It's back.
and I'm just laughing.
He's
at
sitting
Zach
here
the entire
rolling.
time.
I would
So
have died.
it's in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
All right. I should say that. It's like end of January,
Oh,
right?
Man.
She had a balcony. I opened the balcony door. Until I saw her motor, rolling back in her wheelchair.
Yeah.
And Joe's
And
just,
I'm still and he's wafting the room with the door.
dude, I'm opening and closing the door, trying to get air forced into there so it'll stop, and it just would not go away. So she had someone visiting at the time, and someone came in and was like, "Okay, do you guys mind if could one of you help us get a TV up from downstairs in the lobby?" I'm like, me, I'll help you. That was the worst smelling place I had ever been to. I know you had one that I was with you on, but that was nothing compared to what the smell was that was coming from this apartment.
That one never got, like, it was bad, but it never got to me to like the visceral effect.
I was
that you
gaggy.
did.
Yeah, I was gagging.
Yeah,
It was bad.
There was one, I guess maybe expired milk doesn't get me that way.
Yeah.
But I had one.
It's a bad smell, man.
Oh, it is. Don't get me wrong. But I had one where I went in like this. I was doing an install, and this lady or this person had a mattress in one of the rooms,
Okay.
and it was not white anymore.
Oh no.
It was like a poopy brown. Like the entire mattress somehow, even like, so you have the top, and even though we're talking about 6 to 8 inches of mattress, the entire thing was a poopy brown. I don't know how it got to that. And I had to work right next to it, and I don't know, she had some sort of remorse behind it because she was like apologizing to me and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it would smell like you had popcorn that you had burnt, but you still let it go for another 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
It was just burnt popcorn smell, but it was just like beyond.
There's only like a couple smells I feel like that indicate like roach house smells. Like one of them's like Cheeto fingers. You like I don't want to say moldy Cheeto, but like stale Cheeto fingers. Like, you know what smell I'm talking about? It smells like Cheetos. Like someone just ate Cheetos nonstop, and instead of licking their fingers or washing their fingers, they just went around just painting the house with the fucking Cheeto dust.
Sure.
And it's like, you'd walk into a house, and I swear, as soon as I'd smell it, I'd be like, oh no. So like, I'd be on the lookout. And generally, in those houses, they'd be the same houses where you'd be putting a box on top of another competitor's box that's on top of an old box that's from your company.
Yep.
They were generally those same houses, and it's like, man, that Cheeto smell. Because I had roaches at like 3 of those Cheeto smell houses, and it was like, not like, man, it's just like, I don't understand it. It's like, do you just not clean? But like, the fact that people can live in those conditions,
it's surprising.
it's man, like, I get going nose deaf to certain smells, sure.
Yeah.
BO, sometimes people go nose deaf to their own BO, but BO is not like the strongest smell in the world.
It can be.
Listen, it can be, but like you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about
I know
when
what
I'm
you're
talking
talking
about a
about.
caliber
Oh, yeah.
of smellyhood here.
Oh, I surely know.
Oh,
So
Zach and I know.
yeah, and a lot of it is seniors, and it's like I get it. Maybe they can't smell it, man. But
Yeah.
like, I think some of the worst ones I had would be just some of those older homes, man.
Yeah, to go to a funnier tone, talking about old people houses and stuff like that, it reminds me of another one where you're talking about someone farting in front of the customer. Zach, if you remember when we were sitting in another room.
Oh, I haven't told that story in a long time. I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah. So
What are you
what's
guys
great
doing, a
about
fart
this?
off?
Yes. So pretty much. So
You
basically,
didn't realize that was. Did it go ahead?
no. So Zach and I we're working on a modem. I think we're running our test to make sure that the signal is good and everything like
Sure.
that. And I rip a good fart just because I could, and we start laughing.
Yeah, like little schoolgirls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they start chuckling and stuff like that. Then Zach's trying to keep it together, and then shortly afterwards, the lady in the other room, old lady, just rips one
Even louder. I mean, she was 3 rooms away, and we heard it clear as day, louder than his that he had just ripped. And I'm like, at first I looked at Joey, and then I'm like, wait, no, that wasn't him.
Yeah, and then I'm dying.
We are
just
dying. Like to the point where we can't say we don't want to laugh at her because she just ripped,
Yeah.
But it's like we couldn't help it. It was one of those where you're not
She
supposed to
thought
laugh.
she was in good company. She
Yeah.
heard you and was like, okay.
right. What's
Some of those young boys.
what I always love doing when Zach and I work together and stuff is that just trying to make Zach lose his bearings,
Yeah.
just to make him laugh. And I got him. I can't remember all of them. I don't know if you can, Zach, but I got you a couple of times that you
Yeah.
just couldn't.
I had to leave the house because I was in tears laughing, and I had to leave the house because they were going to see that I was laughing.
Yeah.
There was another time where I found one of those grabbers,
Yeah.
one of the little extensions grabbers that older people use, and
Yep.
I was just screwing around with it, and I picked a tissue out of a tissue box with it, right? Just so stupid stuff, right? And I put it up. I didn't even realize the ceiling fan was on, and it caught the tissue and started whipping the tissue around. So I'm like, oh, I put two or three more up there to see how loud I could get it. We're just dying laughing.
Oh man.
And he grabs a lotion bottle. And it launches across the room because he doesn't get it. It's lotion. He can't get a good grip on it.
Oh man. Oh, so much fun, dude. I honestly, there are a lot of things that I really miss about that job. And to be honest with you, it was a lot more about like working with you guys, and you'd had some good customer interactions and stuff. But I mean, it all kind of made up for, at the end of the day, you pretty much always had a good day, as long as you didn't, as long as you had time to spend with other people at the job, you were usually good.
Yeah. Well, not to make it sound like this is a man's craft of work or stuff like that, because women can't do it. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But it was definitely nice just having all dudes
Yeah.
there, just because you could not necessarily get away with stuff, but you could talk a little more freely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't have to like tippy toe around some things.
Right. Yeah, and well, we've had that conversation on here too. There is a different way that men talk to other men versus the way they talk to women, and a lot of times, if you talk to women the way you talk to your other male friends, they're not going to like it. They may just straight up hate you for it.
Oh, yeah, man.
Well, then you were talking about a work environment. Like there's plenty of women that I know that I can talk exactly how I talk with other men.
Sure.
But I know them.
Right.
Like I don't know this individual at work. I just met this person 3 weeks ago. How do I know they're not gonna send me to HR immediately?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Yeah, I really liked that job. There are some times that I miss it. There are other times that I think about that I'm like, no, I really don't miss that. Well, I mean, I'll be honest, the winter, working out in the
winter does
winter,
suck,
it
man.
did really suck.
I
And
remember being up at that pole on the pole, fully extended ladder. You're trying to put a fitting on a cable, and you're just freezing your ass off.
can't
Yeah.
feel your fingers.
Fingers are numb. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like trying
they're
as
like,
hard
oh,
as
just-
you can.
They're like, just wear gloves. And like, dude, I don't have dexterity.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I
work,
need
man.
dexterity.
Right.
But there was one time talking about being up on a ladder in the middle of winter. I had to pee like a like a racehorse, and it didn't come to me yet because otherwise I would have just peed while I was on the ground.
Yeah.
But I threw up the ladder and I'm up there for maybe 15 minutes, something like that, cold as crap, and I'm like, oh no, I gotta go, and I gotta go right now.
Yeah.
So it's dark out. It's like after 4 p.m. And so yeah, I unzip and I just let it fly. And it's the loudest thing in the world. It's like
When it's dropping 20 feet, yeah.
it's so loud. And I'm like, please don't come outside. Don't come outside.
But at that point, you're like, please, like 5 of you don't come outside.
Yeah.
If you're like in a rear easement.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also cold, and I'm wearing like 3 extra layers.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
always sucks.
So I'm
too.
wearing 6 inches of layers trying to get through.
Oh man, it is the worst, isn't it?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that was fun. I did enjoy. I will say this: I am very glad that I had that job. It did teach me a lot, not just technical stuff, but it taught me one nice thing. One big draw to that kind of job is that you don't have a direct supervisor over you constantly. They're not watching every single thing that you do.
Right.
And so it did teach me a little bit of responsibility or self-accountability.
Integrity, man.
Yeah, integrity. There you go. That's the best word for it. Because at the end of the day, most of the time, if you could leave that work day with, I suppose that goes with any job, but if you could leave that work day and honestly say that you did everything that you could that day, then, it felt good. And that was one of the jobs where that was more evident to me because I didn't have somebody over my shoulder constantly telling me, do this, do this, do this, do this.
Well, if you want to talk about like feeling as if you felt accomplished, you get immediate responses from the customers that you're with. Like, hey, I know I fixed that problem,
Yeah,
so
that's
I
true,
know
too.
I did a good
Yeah.
job. Whereas other jobs where you might not see a benefit or reap your reward until a couple of months later.
Right.
Whereas ours is more instantaneous. You
Yeah,
get that
because
dopamine hit.
Right. Because if it's not working, you can tell right away. I mean, you're
Yep.
working on it in real time, and then it's like, oh look, it's all working now, and it looks good. And
Yeah,
man.
the-
I mean, I had some installs where I would take pictures of when I was done because I was like,
Oh,
"Man,
yeah.
that looks so good."
We all did. I think all technicians do that. As in the cable industry, they wire up a house box at the outside of the house with the
Yeah.
perfect loop and the perfect ground
Everything's
block.
hidden just right.
Yeah.
You're like,
and
"Oh,
then
yeah."
and then you show me that picture and I rip it apart.
Yeah.
Look at this. We I remember when we had a guy move from another office and he went around to everybody asking what their tech numbers were and he
Oh,
puffed
I
out his chest to everybody. And then he comes to be one of the biggest softies we ever have. Joe, you kind of remind me of that guy right now. Saying stuff you're saying. I'm just
Didn't you-
What's that supposed to mean?
I don't know. I like the guy, so it's like I like you too. So I don't know.
Didn't you smack that guy in the mouth for being a loudmouth?
No, I
You know,
never
I
did
think
that.
I think I actually remember that now that you mentioned it. That was
That
oh
was
boy.
so funny.
So yeah, you
that was pretty much your first interaction with me too, Kyle.
that
Yeah,
was pretty-
yeah. That was one of the first times that you actually met Joey. Or,
Oh
well, yeah.
man, that's one of those moments where it's like, I know it's gonna be funnier being there than like ever telling that story.
Yeah.
But that is a moment where if you were there, you would easily have pissed your pants laughing.
Oh yeah, we were under the bar laughing.
It was
we were-
the funniest thing.
The two. I was not laughing at all, but you
Oh, we
two guys
know.
were just you guys were just rolling. So
We were
hard
falling
the
off
entire
of our
time.
stools laughing. That was so
Yeah,
funny.
I think because you were underage, right? And he was trying to call
No,
you out.
I was never underage while drinking. That's
What do you mean? I didn't say anything about drinking.
you said we were in a. Never
I
mind.
didn't say anything about that. You just did. But anyways, we were at a place, and I remember he kept saying stuff that it's like would have got a lot of people in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a level of being funny and messing with people, and then there's a level that's just like stupid. And he was
Well-
so far over the line.
Yeah, but I think the thing about that was he didn't actually realize what was happening, and then he just blurts it out loud.
Yeah.
He blurts it out loud, and
And then he got slapped immediately in the
Joey's
face and then
first
told,
reaction.
"You talk too damn much."
Joey's first reaction is just slam his hand back right where his face is. And so we start dying laughing. Joey's just sitting there,
Hey.
blank face.
He looked
And-
like a dog, put his tail between his legs and walked
guy-
off. Like he didn't know what to do, what to say.
Well, at first he says, "Why'd you hit me?" He's like, "You talk too much."
Talk too damn much. He Will Smithed him, man.
Oh
Before
man!
Will Smith slapping people was cool.
And then
That-
he did.
it
He
was-
walked away and
That
just
was just so. It was such just reactionary. Like it wasn't even like I wasn't even thinking. It
Yeah.
was just all reactionary. Which
Hey, it
was,
worked.
Yeah.
it did work. He shut up. He wasn't talking
he
too
didn't
much.
come back at all, man. He left after
Yeah.
that. Like left us. Oh, that was so funny.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Oh
have been.
man, I forgot about that. too.
It wouldn't
That's
have been
so funny.
as funny, like if that guy would have just kind of like started hauling off and trying to punch people. But it was just so funny, the entire interaction that
Yeah.
just happened in the last 3 seconds.
You knocked 10 years off of his life. You hit him. He looked like a little kid. Like he didn't know
Yeah.
what to do. Like he was lost.
Yeah.
His mom's gone.
I mean,
He's fucking in the mall. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know where his dad is.
He probably went cross-eyed for half a second just
Probably
because
just
of
had
the
a little concussion.
shock.
Like
Yeah.
what just happened? What?
Oh, it was so funny. That wasn't that the very last actual party that they did with us for the employees? I'm
where
pretty
we,
sure it
where
was.
we could
the last one
actually
I was at.
drink at.
Yeah. Yeah, I
like
think it
what-
was.
Yeah, because after that we did some weird
Poker nights.
Yeah,
Oh, that was
casino
goofy.
nights. Yeah,
That was
Lame as hell.
normally.
that was different though. That was like a Christmas event or something.
Yeah, it was a Christmas party, and normally when you hear people talk about, "Oh, we have a casino night at work," you usually think, "Oh, okay, that's actually kind of cool," you know?
You think there'd be like prizes too?
Yeah,
and stuff?
yeah. Well, we got prizes. Do you remember what the prizes
It
were?
was a flower basket.
It was the
they were
it was the
horrible.
fake flower centerpieces on the tables.
Yeah.
It's like, and they never told us what the prize was either. They told us that there would be a prize for the person that had the most chips
Yeah.
at the end of the night.
Oh, I'm sorry, but also it was you get to have lunch with the general manager. Why on earth would I
that was
want
one
that?
of them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The the manager would take you out for
They were
lunch.
trying to get Farts McGee to go with him too. I remember that now.
We all gave him our chips,
Yeah.
so he would be the one to go.
Man.
Oh
See,
man.
and yeah, man, like the supervisors had fun, the managers had fun.
Yeah.
That's why it's a good field. And when I think it was a lot better when they were smaller before it got
Yeah, for sure.
corporatized. Like
For sure.
some of the stories I hear about the guys doing like gaffing up the poles and just putting like a pack of cigarettes on the top. So the first guy that gets a pack of cigarettes. And just
Nice,
doing stupid
yeah.
stuff like that, you know?
Yep.
I don't know, man. That's
I do miss it. I'm in a job now where I'm basically in an office all day. I'm kind of monitoring stuff. It's more of kind of like an IT role. It's still telecommunications, but I'm just kind of by myself doing my own thing, and then I'll fix stuff. But I do
Well, it sucks to
miss
suck,
the I do miss the interaction between customers and stuff. But I'm making more money here. It's definitely an easier job, and in the sense that it's not constant workflow sometimes like the other place was, you know, with cable, because sometimes you'd have a day where you didn't get done. You started at 8:00 in the morning and didn't get done until 10 at night. You know, this
Yeah.
gives me a little bit more stability with my family and stuff. So,
yeah, I enjoy that too.
yeah, I do. Like I said, I do miss the interaction with customers and the relationships that I had there. But at the end of the day, I had to make a better decision for myself, and I'm ultimately I'm happier, especially at home now.
See,
So-
I'm still out in the field, man. I love it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have the customer interaction. I don't really have to do
That
the
is-
project management role. I don't really have to deal with anybody besides my bosses and my general.
Yeah, and that
General
is
foreman,
huge. That
you know.
that does definitely make a difference, because it would be cool to have the field work without.
Oh, it's great, man.
Yeah,
And my boss, you like I said, work ethic goes a long way, and you get your bosses to have that trust in you. They know that you're going to be doing what's right, and your production doesn't lie. And the certain companies have certain. Let's just say my company has something, so you can't lie about your hours worked. It's all recorded.
yeah,
So there's some places where you can just fill out your timesheet and it is what it is, and hopefully they trust you. But like they have the secondary kind of timesheet here, so it's like there's no lying, man. And it's like as long as I feel like you show you have integrity, you kind of earn that trust. And
sure.
it's like it just makes life, no matter probably at any job, it just makes it so much better.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love because I'm super anti-authoritarian. Obviously, being a veteran of our great military, that makes sense, right? So, but it's just I hate having to deal with the monotonous authority on the daily basis. It's just like I know what needs to get done. If you need me to do something different and you tell me, hey, I
Right.
need you to do this and that, I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to do anything. It's okay. That's
Yeah.
what, that's what
Yeah.
needs to be done. But the micromanagement aspect of it not
Mhm.
being there is perfect for me.
Yep. Yeah. Tell me what you need to get done.
Yeah, I'll get it done.
I will do it.
Right.
Don't tell me how to do it. Just tell me what needs to be done. I'll do it.
There's
Speaking
so
of
many
this-
ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, it's great. It was like going into customers' houses, and they're like, "Yeah, this is what I try to do, and this is what I think the problem is." Like, oh,
Yeah.
let me before you do anything, let me stop you at the door and run through every single scenario that I've already done
Yep.
before I let you touch anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I could already be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Just
figured this out.
get out
already,
of my
man.
way, man. Like, I don't need you to give me the rundown. I don't need you to play by play, because guess what? I'm still going to start from scratch no matter what you tell me.
Right.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I still have my process that I use, that I
Oh,
go
yeah.
through.
And it wasn't what the company wanted. They want you to start outside and work your way in. It's like, no, I'm going to start inside and work my way out.
Figure out
if
the
I need to
problem,
go
yeah.
outside, I'll figure it out from the inside.
Yeah, well, it's those moments where, like, if you did work outside in, how many times we're talking about like a random noise haystack, right? So like it's a grounding issue for the most part. You go to the ground block and you unplug it and plug it back in, and now it's cleared the noise
Yeah.
because it's not building up that
Yeah, that
Right.
static
that
is gone.
static
Static,
buildup.
Right.
But now because you've already gone outside first to pull signal,
Yeah, now you can't figure out where
you
the problem
do not
is
know what the problem was.
because you just cleared it.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. That happened in the maintenance world all the time too. When you're not working with the customers, and it'd be the same exact thing. You'd have a build up static over time. It's like, all right, cool, I know something's going on, but you short it once. It doesn't matter where you short it, but it that might not be where the problem is. You shorted it, you cleared it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fun stuff though, man. I just love being able to like work through problems and like being just given the tools here. Just go figure it out. Anything you might need, just let us know.
It gives
You know.
it gives you a confidence. Once you have that base layer of trying to troubleshoot, it gives you a confidence to be able to do other things and figure them out versus, so many people just kind of flood to, oh, I need someone to tell me how to do this. I need someone to,
Yeah.
No,
it gives you the confidence to actually pull things apart yourself and figure it out.
Well, it stimulates the brain.
Yeah, for sure.
And like for my new position, there's plenty of individuals who reach out to me because they don't understand, or they not. I don't think that's that they don't understand. They tend to second guess themselves, and for no reason whatsoever. And it's like, dude, I've already told you this.
Right.
You know the answer.
Or it's like you were already on the right track, but because you second guessed yourself, like now you're fucked.
Yeah,
Now, you were right.
Or like, yeah, they're you have 100 steps to accomplish, and you're at number 99, and you give up. Like, hey man, all you had to do was click this button.
Yeah.
You were this close.
Right.
Like, I don't understand how you couldn't have figured this one out. Like, come on, man. Like, or they have questions about some information gathering, and it's like, guess I had to do the exact same thing. I had to go find this information.
Right. I had
Why
to look up the
can't-
manual. Or
Why can't
whatever.
you?
Yep.
Like, and like I tell them all the time, like, hey, it does not hurt to just sit here and read everything.
Yep.
Any note that like you have, the page that you can pull up, read everything on that page. I don't care if it ends up being non-pertinent, just read it all. Because then you'll figure out what the mindset that the people that are writing this stuff is coming from, and then you can figure out where to go next, and then read that entire file.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a lot of reading what I do. I just like, I don't know what to do. Well, guess what? I'm going to read all of it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, people make manuals for things. And that's just it, too. I mean, it's like, having the experience, the hands experience, working with tools, the troubleshooting methods. But it's like, in the technology boom of today, it's like you can almost find a video on how to replace anything. Someone put some sort of video together. But I feel like having these hands-on tools, I guess, makes some of these things click a lot easier for some people than others,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of information at our fingertips for figuring this stuff out.
Mm-hmm. He's lying.
Just
I don't
waiting
know
to
if
use
that's
that
gonna
all
come through.
night.
Will that come through?
It'll be real quiet.
Yeah, quiet.
Well, it's fine.
That's fine.
But yeah, I don't know, man. This is a pretty fun one.
Oh, this was a
Had
fun
fun.
one. We kind of struggled on what exactly we were going to do, and this one popped up, and we were like, yes, that'll be a fun one to talk about.
It's not so end of the world type of stuff.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, right.
tip your cable guys.
Yeah, no, they like that. I like that.
yeah.
Every time I got a tip, it was a great day.
Even though the computerized call tells you that you shouldn't be tipping your cable guy.
No, I'll give them a tip, man.
Yeah, slip them a 10 or a 20.
I mean, unless they're farting all over your house,
Yeah,
and
that's
putting
true.
holes in the
As
wall.
long as you're-
I definitely miss. I don't get tips anymore, and I definitely miss it.
Yeah.
Because it was always like, oh, guess what? I'm going to lunch now.
Yep.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, yeah. If the technician has done everything to your satisfaction, it's actually working by the time they leave, and they haven't really messed anything up, and they're a good person in general, slip them a 10 or a 20.
It'll make their day, man.
It will make their day, and I guarantee you that if there was something that they left, they're probably going to go fix it before they leave because you gave them the 10 or the 20.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
yeah,
say,
there was plenty-
I forgot my tools back in that corner over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was plenty of times where I fed them a line of crap. It was like I did mostly everything, and then it's like, I'll just leave this one thing behind, whatever.
Yep.
And then I got like a couple bucks or whatever, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Now I
Alright.
got to go.
I
Yeah.
gotta fix this.
Yep. I find it real hard to be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I try sometimes, I just can't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, honestly, it really does go a long way. Just a $10 bill. Shoot them a $10 bill.
Well-
They'll.
And I mean, with that $10 bill, they might just go pick up a 6-pack. They might just go get themselves like some delicious Leinenkugel summer shandy.
I like the segue.
And, I mean, I
That's
think
weird. That's
summer
what-
shandy Leinenkugel is a great beer. I
It's
think
so
it's funny to
weird.
be drinking it in the wintertime
Do you
as
like-
the Super Bowl's about to happen.
Do you like
here.
summer shanty or orange shanty more?
Summer?
Do you like
The
orange?
lemon.
Ooh, I like the orange.
I like the lemon.
It's so weird that we're talking about it because it's
Speaking
what
of,
we're
what
drinking.
are we drinking?
Yeah,
Well, that's so crazy you would mention that.
crazy.
So yeah, I thought it was weird because you brought a 6-pack of Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. I looked at it and I was like, huh. It's February, so we're definitely in the midst of winter, and here's a good summertime beer. And generally, I like getting this when the summer first kicks off because it's fresh, it's delicious.
Oh, sure.
Generally, I don't like getting it during the wintertime because I feel like it stales out and it doesn't taste as good. But this batch is actually really good.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it doesn't have any, for being midst of winter here.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
quite
and
delicious.
I think today, because today was very warm comparatively to the weeks prior, I think this is
global warming's finally actually a
Yeah.
thing. Super stoked about that actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It hit me right in the right way.
Me too. I'm actually like I feel like it's been a while since I've had one. And it's funny too because the other day I was in the store and I actually saw the Sam Adams Cold Snap, and I was thinking, ooh, this is the time. That's a good beer. Now I would always recommend that one if they have it on
Oh,
tap.
yeah.
Get Cold Snap. If they have Cold Snap on tap, Sam Adams Cold Snap,
That is good stuff.
do yourself a favor and get it because it is delicious.
Did you say where Liney's was from yet?
I did not. That's well, it is a
Wisconsin?
good old Wisconsin beer. Chippewa Falls, eh?
Yeah.
Is that was this one bought or is this Coors? owned by Coors?
I don't believe so.
I don't think it is. I think it's it's just Lion and Kugel Brewing Company.
Man, I swear.
Oh wait, Fort Worth, Texas.
Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Fort Worth,
Molson
Texas.
Coors.
Yeah, see.
Oh, okay.
2016, Sab Miller sold its stake in Miller Cools for around $12 billion.
Man, that's
Was it
insane.
after the company was acquired by Anheuser-Busch InBev? Sell it. Can't drink it anymore. You guys are done.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that's fine as long as we're not drinking Bud Light because nobody cares about the fact that they actually own a lot more than just Bud Light. I've noticed.
Well, Anheuser-Busch is currently going around buying everything and all podcasts too.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're buying a ton of podcasts.
Ooh. So
Maybe
what's
make
the
it
pre-
big.
do we start talking shit about Bud Light to get that purchase offer or what?
So, well, let me pose. I posed this question with Colton on an episode.
Okay.
If Anheuser-Busch approached you, would you take the money?
How much?
Whatever type of sponsorship, a decent sponsorship, and it meant that you would just endorse like the drinking that you guys are doing. You would only do Anheuser-Busch products, or you would main Bud Light. Would you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they own like almost a lot of beers I actually enjoy. Modelo, Stella.
Yeah, and realistically, it gets rid of the stigma of you have to drink a certain beer if you align this way. No, beer's meant to be enjoyed.
I never really I find it extremely funny, and I make fun of people all the time. I especially make fun of both sides.
Sure.
Because it's, I think, incredibly stupid that you would ban a product just because a person that identifies as a female or a trans person just wasn't endorsed by this company. Like, who cares? In my opinion, I don't care.
The reason people cared is because that person's content goes to kids. So
Yeah.
they were, it's a point.
And I get
was
that,
a
but
point that
it
needed
was
to
also
be made, and I feel at this point people have been fired, and I feel like the point's been made. If people still want to boycott it, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah,
because I feel like the bloodshed yeah, man, all these corporations that think that they're way too big to fail. Obviously, some of these are conglomerates now. These aren't corporations anymore.
At the same time, though, it was just 6 bottles. That's it. It wasn't like it was mass distribution to anything.
Oh,
it was
sure.
a personalized six bottles.
I'm
sent
so
to this
happy it
particular
happened
person.
though, because in these cultural war, like, it's almost like the individual point wasn't that big that it needed to be blown up to that proportion, but it was just that point of it was like, it's like, death by 1,000 cuts type of thing, and it's like finally enough's enough, and it's like the point needs to be made. The point needs to be made that no one hates gay people or the homophobe. No one's afraid of gay people. I'm certainly not.
Right.
You know what I'm afraid of them doing?
Yeah, show me a gay person right now, and I'll show you someone who's afraid of them.
Yeah. Well, the point is, like, I don't want them messing with kids, man.
Right.
And they've been proven time and time again to be doing it.
Yep.
And now the new trend is all the feminazis are freaking raping kids. 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and it's like the hot teacher thing. But they're like, teacher had sensual relationship. It's like, no, they raped the kid, man. Just call it what it is. You can't say the men are raping the kids and not the women. They're both sick people.
Mm-hmm.
Not to defend the gross men too, man. Anything that has to do when you're disrupting or like changing the innocence of a kid, like, what you're doing, it's wrong. It should feel wrong. And I feel like anything that has to do when it comes to crime, like, screw hate crimes, anything that has to do with a child needs a modifier. That needs a crime modifier, and it should be 1,000,000 times worse. Rape of a child,
It should be death.
any of it should basically, the whole list should be like, everybody should be almost on par with that, being like, we're gonna put the child pedophile, rapist to death.
Well,
Because I don't think there's any sort of, how are you gonna reform that person?
Well, you would think that one thing that everyone could get behind is the protection of kids.
Yeah.
You'd think.
And yet we're seeing that is not the case.
Well, exactly. And I feel like that was the bigger motivator with the Bud Light thing. And they were trying to change the brand from the frat boy scene to the trans scene. And it's like, no, you can't keep doing that. And now a lot of the celebrities that like Bud Light are kind of back on the Bud Light bandwagon, but you have Bud Light sponsoring UFC, and you have these UFC fighters taking that sponsorship and saying, cool, now you support my platform. And they're going all in on the trans people and stuff. And what's Bud Light going to say? They've already spent all the money on the UFC brand.
Well, I think it's also funny you have all of these individual celebrities and stuff like that that either took a stand. Mostly we're talking about the people that took the negative stand towards Bud Light, like, oh, never again. And then you see those same individuals 3 weeks later out at an event drinking Bud Light. Like,
well, yeah,
okay, so you're so you're just a liar. You're just trying to take the
dude. Yeah, but those people exist on every aspect of life. Those people exist in your church.
But
those people exist in your daily life. You pass those people by all the time. They're just hypocrites. They're people that are living the skin suit, man.
Except for these people that I'm like referring to are popular figures and people look up to them. And then, like, how many young minds are molded by Taylor Swift on the actions that she does? Whether it's good or not, that's not the point. But like, if she were to do something like endorse a product and then immediately go do a different product, she's still influencing the minds of the people around her.
I guess, man. But like, so much of that's happened nowadays that it's like, if people can't just look past it and figure out what's going on, then just let them be brainwashed by it.
Yeah, but we're talking about kids, though. We're talking about kids that are being immediately influenced by these people.
That's the whole spiel on, like, you know, it's kind of like what we talked about with abortion. Well, it's like, I already view abortion as murder, so that it should be illegal. It's like, my view on it is that it needs to come from the cultural standpoint that we just don't allow these things to happen anymore. There's some states that are making it so kids can't be on social media until they're 16 or 18 years old now. But it's like, it's too little too late. And then then it's the whole conversation of like, well, do we need you to regulate the government, or do we need parents just to be damn parents? You know? And it's all these conversations like, we don't need babysitters. We just need to do what's right and wrong. And you have a plethora of atheists in this world that believe that if you need religion to know what's right and wrong, then, there's no hope for you in humanity. And it's like, dude, go to Africa and tell the people that are just murdering each other there that what's right and wrong. Because it's like, obviously religion plays a lot in the what's right and wrong and all these things. And I feel like the godlessness has, you know, there's so many, it's so nuanced. There's so much different things that has a lot to play with it. So it's like, it's not just one word, but it's like these small victories you have to take them when you get them. Because if you want to think about good versus evil, and we're just on this earth combating evil, the devil's around the corner. And it's like, the devil's not just some guy with a pitchfork and a freaking pokey tail. It's the hot woman over there. It's the pornography that's accessible from your phone. The devil's behind if you think about it, if you think of sin in that aspect of, you know, what's wrong is the devil and what's good is God, and not putting a person to him, not putting, you know, the whole Jesus, you know, he made me in your image. If you just kind of like quiet that real fast and just think about him as these terms of like good and evil. And like I just said, like, you know, they're there. The trans people, in my opinion, it's a whole lot of the devil. The over-sexualization in schools, what they did to us in the 90s, because you look at some of those 90s PG movies, they are overtly sexualized. It's insane. And I'm watching them with my kids like, I remember watching this as a kid, and I don't remember, this is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, you see some of these movies that PG then versus PG in like the 80s, they were very different. You know, like these things evolved. But like, look at that influence in Hollywood. You had a bunch of gay people, in like closeted gay people in Hollywood, putting their art in the movies, and then they would make fun of like conservative culture or the Christian culture taking up their art, because it's like, we just put a bunch of gay stuff in there and they don't know what we're talking about. He.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. That's the devil. What's the Bud Light trans Mulvaney? That's the devil. This person that's manipulating kids, you know, like and these things are kind of everywhere. And it's like, I'm going to go off on a crazy tangent, but that's essentially what I'm getting down to. So anyways, Line and Google's Summer Shandy's a delicious beer.
I like how you do
and
that.
I just have to say, one of my birthdays, my wife actually made this, utilizing this beer into like a cupcake mix.
Ooh.
And she made cupcakes with this. And I got to say, they were, and she used like the lemon zest from a lemon peel and everything for the
Nice.
topping. Oh my God, they were so good.
I'll bet.
So good.
I'll bet.
So these, like I'm not a big fruity, fruited beers
Same.
and whatever else. This is the only one I absolutely love.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
I would agree. So, all right. Well, with that,
Yeah. So, hey, man. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Common Sense Beer, where we talked about the tech life. Great stories. I really enjoyed this. I got some great laughs and some, I was smiling ear to ear for most of the episode, so I really thoroughly enjoyed that.
it's fun. It's fun to reminisce. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The nostalgia and all that good stuff.
And maybe we'll touch on some more of it too later. Maybe we can get one of our old pals on and talk to them about their.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe our old pal Tommy. The
Yeah.
cuck chair buddy is waiting for
There
you.
you go.
Joe
So,
warmed it up for you tonight, but we'll get you in there.
so-
All right. So, Zach, you got anything for us?
Nope. I think that's it.
All right. Well, it was great. Thanks for joining us. You guys have a great one. We'll see you next time.